Hello, this is Jonathan Shadkey, uh, running as an independent for president. Jonathan Shadkey for president. Please write in whoever you are going to vote for. Do not allow a computer to count it because the computer counts are every time false. Anyway, the debate between President Trump and Joe Biden occurred last night, and oh boy, um, Trump was not on his best game, and Biden was, well, it was amazing the poor old man could make it through the evening. That's about as much as I can. He must have been hopped up on a meth or something. Um, so, Trump and Biden records were discussed, and Biden was a loser the whole time. He made bad choices, bad ideas, and caused grief and trouble for many people in this country. Um, he stayed in his position by being venal and has made many millions off of uh, insider trading and other things and essentially bribes. Now, Trump. Um, Trump has not cleaned the swamp. He brought home some of the troops, not all of them. And we still have uh, a lot of trouble in the country um, because he didn't uh, deregulate everything he could possibly deregulate. We still have a number of places in the country that are that where the government at the local level or at the federal level is still limiting what you can do with your own property. Um, as an anarchist, my position is that if it is your property and it hurts nothing else but your own property, you have no problem doing that. Um, a number of federal agencies try to get their interstate commerce clause over intrastate matters, like the EPA regulating private property water supplies, whereas the only authority under the Constitution that they would have would be over water and things that would cross state lines, like the Mississippi River or something, or right where the water goes outside of another state or is multiple state impacting. So the EPA shouldn't be able to tell anybody what's allowable in a local water supply. And if it was up to me, I would clear all that regulation away. And as the president, all regulation is my purview. I can take every single law and do exactly the minimum to fulfill the law under the Constitution. And if I believe the Constitution does not allow a law as written, I will use only the parts of that law as I believe the Constitution is allowing. And that is where the separation of power comes in. The Congress can make a law. I, as president, get to decide how to implement it under the Constitution. And if they disagree with that, they can take me to the Supreme Court. Now, speaking of the Supreme Court, they were asked about the appointment of a new justice this close to an election? And the answer is it's the president's duty to appoint, to nominate, and it's the Senate's considered choice whether to uh, allow that nomination to be uh, confirmed or not. And they can disallow that in numerous ways by either taking a vote or by and voting against it, or by just not considering it, whatever way they want. If they um, if they shelf a table the nomination, and then as president, I drop in a new one. I say, all right, if you're not going to consider that one, will you consider this one? If you're not going to consider that one, will you consider this one? And that's how politics works. You work with them to get a suitable candidate. And I think Obama could have worked with the Senate in 2016 to get a suitable candidate, one that was conservative enough to please at least a few of the senators on the Republican side, and sway the vote enough to get it confirmed. He missed that opportunity to be a statesman. The handling of COVID-19 was brought up so that Biden could you do the Democratic talking point. He killed people, 200,000. Well, first of all, 200,000 people have not died of COVID-19. COVID-19 disease is a specific set of symptoms. Bronchial pneumonia caused by by this virus. And part of those symptoms, to make sure that it's the right virus causing it, is the depletion of white blood cells. Very few of the cases that have died and been labeled COVID-19 were actually. Most of those cases were labeled COVID-19 because of the perverse incentives that our government put into it. So there's been a decline in flu, a decline in viral pneumonia deaths, a decline in heart disease, and all these other things that aren't going to stop killing people just because we've got this COVID-19 situation. So what have we got? We've got the CDC and Dr. Fauci as, these swamp creature players, either because of never Trump sentiments or Democratic leanings or whatever. It doesn't matter. They aren't doing their job honestly. The director of the CDC is a swamp creature. And as such, I would abolish as much as I could, because I want to free people's immortality, I would abolish the CDC. If those people wish to do that job still, I won't stop them. But it will not be a government agency under my watch. It's that simple. We have had the worst response you could possibly have to this. Not at all epidemic. It is an epidemic. It isn't a pandemic. Nowhere did it rise to epidemic levels. The disease does not transmit the way these people think. uh, or modeled, and could not have killed enough people to make it anything like, say, the swine flu even of a few years ago, let alone the um, pandemic levels of the 1918 Spanish flu. So COVID-19, I would have said, um, yeah, the truth is that this disease did not kill all these people. We put in perverse incentives. People used them fraudulently, and as I have the Department of Justice looking into that, and if they did so, then we will be uh, taking criminal action against those that defrauded the United States and falsely claimed these debts. Now, the economy, if we have an economy that is growing, it's not in a recession. That's kind of the definition of it. You have to have 2 quarters of negative growth, shrinking economy, 2 quarters in a row. Now, the truth of the matter is we have not had strong growth because we're miscalculating inflation. I would go back to the unbiased consumer price inflation used from the 1900s through the 1980s. And I would say that is the same thing we're going to continue doing. Because that's how you maintain a constant and considered planning. You can't. Part of the reason they changed was in order to cheat the Social Security recipients out of their cost of living increases. And I would say, look, if you want to have lower cost of living increases so that Social Security doesn't go broke, legislate that. Legislate the cost of living increase in Social Security will only be half of the inflation rate or something like that. Because honestly, it's better to be honest about what you're doing than to cheat people through dishonest things and to make those inflation calculators completely worthless for everybody else to actually calculate what's going on. The economy had 1 quarter of contraction because massive amounts of the country was artificially shut down. Needless to say, when you artificially stop people from fulfilling their contracts and fulfilling their orders, when they can get back to work, they go back and fill their contracts and fill their orders and get their jobs done. And when you artificially depress a supply chain, the demand doesn't go away. And the demand was still there, waiting for the country to come back online. And so that, and this talk of a K-shaped recovery and people being, the top 1%. Well, yes, when you do a $3 trillion bailout and include bailouts for a bunch of corporations, the people who own those corporations aren't going to be hurt much. Amazing how that works. And that's the same bailout sort of thing that the Democrats put up for the second round. And that's why, the negotiations have completely failed. So the next topic they talked about was race and violence in our cities. Antifa is a terrorist organization. They have links to international terrorist organizations, and I would prosecute that as such. And as the commander-in-chief, I would go after them. The NSA has all their comms, which is a program that I would stop as president, because monitoring the comms of people who do not have a warrant out on them is illegal and unconstitutional. And it doesn't matter whether you just store them in a database or not. It's illegal and unconstitutional. But they are a domestic terrorist organization. Warrants are very easy. You get a warrant on one guy, you check their comms. Everyone they talk to, you get a warrant on them, you check their comms. You round up the whole bit, the whole group. If you round up a few of the grandmothers of these people, well, then you make sure that the grandmothers haven't financially supported their terrorist.
Who are you talking to?
The world. I'm making a video for the world to see. And so, yeah, even the grandmothers of these people, if they've materially supported their insurrection, is fair game. Furthermore, because it is a terrorist organization, the military does not need to have permission to take care of them. Anywhere Antifa shows up, the military can show up instantly. No request needed. And I would do so. Black Lives Matter would also get the domestic terrorism organization moniker, and every single Black Lives Matter protest would get shut down instantly under a Shadkey presidency. Now, the integrity of the election. Our elections have not had integrity in 150 years. The machine politics specifically works out ways of making election fraud happen. That is practiced throughout every big city. There is no way the south side of Chicago gets 98% turnout. I lived down there. I know those people. It didn't happen. But that's what the records show. Overall, they say 75%. Same. Same sort of fraud, just not as obvious.
Why are you reading this
Our election has never been has never had integrity in our lifetimes. And the Democrats know this. And that's why they always say the integrity of American elections is unquestioned. Because both sides know that if it was questioned, they would all be in jail. And that is what I would attempt to accomplish. And I would attempt to tie, using the existing comms database, I see no reason to let these people off. We know what they said to each other. We would use that. Lock her up would happen under a Shadkey administration. And should any of them have any ties of any sort to BLM or Antifa, Guantanamo Bay is waiting.
Why are you talking
So that's where a Shatke administration would take this.
Oh,
And if they say, well, you're a fascist, you're taking control of the country, I'd say, no, I'm not. You can go ahead and elect somebody new. This person is a felon, though. They're going to jail.
And they're going to jail. Wow.
So,
Yeah. I'm talking.
4-year-olds would not get much say in the Shatke administration. But
Oh, wow. Whoa, whoa. Whoa.
but I wish you all peace and joy. And remember, write in your vote, no matter who you vote for. Please write in John Shatke, and we could shake this world up. Peace and joy. Goodbye.